Well, we're joined by Joe Dunne. Firstly, Joe, thanks for taking time out to speak to us. EFL Youth Development Week this week. You've been in the role just over 4 months now, I think. So firstly, just give us an idea, how have you settled back into life at Priestfield in the youth team role?
Well, coming back to Gillingham was obviously great, and from a logistics point of view, getting to know the area again and so on. From a youth team point of view, it's been interesting, I have to say, when coming from spending like well over a decade at working at first team level, you come down again and you've got to adjust a little bit in terms of the expectations of your young players at times, and working with a lot younger guys than normal, a different way of probably training, different way of setting up, and certainly a different way of coaching. But it's been really good for me. It's been a great learning experience, even at my age, to be able to come back down and adjust, if you like, to the new breed of young footballer coming through.
Use the word adjust. It's exactly the word I've got on my pad. What sort of things have you had to adapt? Because obviously you were working with a different type of player, not in terms technically, but they're much younger. Yeah,
much younger, of course. It's the intensities that you can work at, for sure. I think we all need to set standards, we all need to set boundaries, but certainly working from a structure has been different in terms of what that structure looks like. It's not all about the 3 points on a Saturday, how you work back from that. So development and performance is key. So making sure that everything we do relates to as high a level performance as we can. I know that's the same with the first team, but obviously expectations of your outcomes on a Saturday are sometimes slightly different. Also, with the young players these days, there's a lot that I feel that needs to improve, in my opinion, in terms of getting to that next step within a pro environment. It was something that I think we spoke about previously, of why I took the job initially in the first place. In my own mind, I've certainly been proved right in that. There's a lot more to football than I think what the young players quite understand, and my job is to make sure they understand that.
Obviously, you played here for several years, Joe. How did you find the transition from playing to coaching? Did it come naturally to you? Did you have to work a bit harder at it than you initially thought? Just talk us through that kind of transition from going from a player to setting up a team.
Well, obviously playing here, one thing that I used to do was help with the junior Gills as a young person. So football's always been, my life in a way, and certainly the transition was a lot easier because I always felt that was what my purpose was. As a player, I always took an interest in the game tactically. I always took an interest in other teams. I was always interested in the managers I worked with and how they coached, what worked well for me and what didn't. I felt the transition into actual youth coaching was pretty easy, based on the fact that I'd retired. I no longer was in a position to play full time at a very young age, 29. So obviously Phil Parkinson gave me the opportunity at Colchester to help with the under 19s it was then. So we ran two groups, under 19s and under 17s. So I became the under 17s coach full time while also helping the under 19s. It was something that I was passionate about, and if I'm honest, it was something that I thought I'd always do, because I just felt it was my calling to help younger people and help younger players and help people. So that was my transition, was quite easy.
Do you miss playing?
No, funnily enough, everyone that you speak to, I love being a player and I love playing. In the end, the way I played the game cost me really with my injuries that I had, unfortunately. Back in the day, we played through our injuries. Back in the day, we were certainly more durable, if you like, in terms of high levels of pain we would play through. I don't miss that. The only thing I really miss is the running and the changing room environment and working within that team ethic as an 11 or 16, if you like now. That's obviously something that you miss. But in terms of the playing, in what I do now and what I had done previously as a coach, I love the coaching. I love the coaching and the little breaks I've had in between, where I've been in between jobs at times. I've really missed that. I love the interaction with people, and I love the idea of trying to help people, make people better. You're affecting more people. As a player, you're just really affecting yourself more often than not in a team environment. But when you get to this side, you're really trying to affect as many people as you can, and I think that's, for me, a lot more rewarding.
There's a lot of people that work in the academy, a lot of which won't be seen by the fans. They'll see you on the touchline from time to time, they'll see Brian Ball, but I'm sure you'd like to thank those who work elsewhere within the academy, whether it's club staff on a day-to-day basis, the coach Tuesday, Thursday nights in Canterbury. There's an awful lot of people that help put it together.
It's the iceberg, isn't it? It's the tip of the iceberg, where we get to the professional bit, where we work with a small number of players that we're trying to help forge a career in the game. Because it's not just about playing for Gillingham, it's about making sure that if it's not here, it's somewhere else. And that's what I strive for, and that's where I think young players need to be a little bit better understanding. But going below, it's so much bigger. I've been down to Canterbury myself. It's the young players, it's the grassroots, it's the coaches at grassroots who've been lucky enough to meet and speak to, that give up their time, the voluntary Sundays, the training evenings. Let's not forget the parents. Having been one myself with a young player in an academy since he was 7, it's the driving, it's the going everywhere. So much more to it than just the top bit. Your journey's long, and then when we get to this bit, it becomes so important of the detail and the concentrations that might be needed from the first team manager on a Saturday. Whereas the journey is below, it's 7s, it's 8s, it's 9s, it's in the system for years, hoping for that moment. And the people that give up their time are precious, really. And without those volunteers at times, and the young coaches and the S&C coaches and the physios, and it's so important, because it's all part of the young players' journey, and they're the people that they meet, you know. And I've heard it said many times, sometimes their under 9s, under 10s coaches are as valuable as the coaches at the top end.
In your own experiences, obviously having been a player as well, how has the world of academy football and youth football changed between the time you were an apprentice and what it is now? And I guess what developments, in your opinion, can still be achieved across the board?
From a development point of view, from player to pro, I think one thing that's evident to me is, I think there's a vision of what the game looks like now at youth level. We see a lot of one way of playing. We see a lot of terminology has changed from me. It's like things now, the build. You hear a lot of managers say now, the build. You know, that used to be just called playing out from the back when I was younger. The goalkeeper would throw it out and you just find your way up the pitch. I think my learning as an older coach is that the terminology of what they're used to now coming through. The game is not just about one way. The game is different. The game is played in a multitude of ways. Only yesterday in the cup final, you see, you can play, or you can go vertical over the top, or you can go down the sides. And I think young players have to understand, in my opinion, that the game is played in many different ways. My challenge is to make sure that they understand that, because every manager has a different way of playing, and I need to prepare these players, certainly at the lower level. If you're working at the top end Cat 1s with the top clubs in the Premier League, it's okay, you're probably going to produce that one guy or two guys for that way of playing. But when you come down into League 1, League 2 and National League, you know, it's about making sure that you're ready to whatever the manager. A game might be different. You might be asked to play one day, and you might be asked to battle one day, right? You're going to have to show guts. You're going to have to show a determination, a desire. And one thing that I've noticed is sometimes it's what I'm trying to teach the young lads at times is that it's not always going to be how you want it to be. You know, it's not always going to be nice, fast-flowing football. Sometimes it's going to have to be a different way of playing. And I believe my job is to show that and teach that. I can't just teach them one way of playing, because it might not suit whoever's in charge of, you know, my boss, you know, the out there. That's the key thing. And my job is to get players ready for that. And if it's not here, wherever else they go, they're ready for wherever else they're asked to do. Run today, pass today, fight today, you know, challenge today, find the space today, and hopefully give them that opportunity. And that's the one thing that I'm noticing is young players is different. Like the only way they talk to each other at the moment. The biggest thing for me is the social media revolution. It's like the way they communicate is via text. Learn to communicate on the pitch. You can't text your mate on the pitch. So there's all kinds of learnings that's great and really challenging for me as a person and as a coach, and I'm loving it. But it's a challenge.
And just finally, I mentioned you've been here, I think, just over 4 months now. In terms of performances, I think, yeah, sorry.
Feels longer.
In terms of recent results, recent performances, I won't ask you for individual fixtures, but how has since you've been in charge, how are things looking? Yeah,
I'll always look performance-based. When we're young, when we're senior, I mean, we have 6, 7 youth team players out on loan at the moment, which is a fabulous way of doing it. I'm absolutely all for that. Learning what the game is like out there, not from a youth level point of view. You can play against a 14-year-old, 15-year-old sometimes when they're 16-year-old, but yeah, and he could be the greatest player. Well, I know how to look at a game, I think. Go and test yourself against men when it's difficult, when it's going to be similar to out there. And I think it's a great credit to us as a club that we do that, because a lot of teams will hold back their best players and their more senior players and will win the league and great, brilliant, good luck to you. My belief is to be testing them as much as we can. And we do that with our second years, and our first years then have to step up, and our first years have to, at 16, maybe 17, become leaders. And then our 16s coming in become leaders. And all in all, that's what we want. That's what we want. Performance, testing each individual, keep pushing them, and get them ready for a day when hopefully they can, like what we have in there at the moment, with Joe and Sam, being able to go there and hold your own. And we believe that process and what we're doing at the moment we'll win some games and play really well as we have done. And we've also seen 6-5s and we've seen 6-2s and we've seen clean sheets. And then we lose a game on Saturday where we're second best in a lot of areas. But that's the understanding and learning for the game. And if we can get it into them younger, we'll be in a better place.